Hello and thanks for joining us. This is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I am Solomon of First Our Top Stories. NLC holds protest over rising insecurity in Nigeria. US adds Nigeria to list of countries facing partial travel restrictions. ICPC receives Dangote's petition against NMDP CEO Ahmed, promises probe. NMDP CEO Ahmed Farouk responds to Dangote's corruption allegation. Nigeria's Corporate Affairs Commission chief accused of forcing small businesses to pay inflated registration fees. On international news, a shock as popular South African DJ shot dead in Johannesburg. And in sport, FIFA announces $60 World Cup ticket after pricing slash. Those are our top stories. Details coming up in just a moment. First on the news, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC, alongside several civil society organizations, are staging a protest today, Wednesday, in Lagos over the worsening insecurity across the country. The protest, which is taking place in the state capital, saw the demonstrators march from Ikeja towards the Lagos State Government House, drawing attention to what they described as the persistent failure of authorities to protect lives and property. Carrying placards and banners, the protesters demanded urgent action from the federal government to stem the tide of killings, kidnappings, and other violent crimes spreading across Nigeria. One of the banners reads, quote, "Federal government, no more excuses and rhetorics, and insecurity now." Other banner declared, quote, "Nigeria is bleeding, stop the criminality now." The protesters also emphasized the constitutional obligation of the state to guarantee safety, with another inscription stating, quote, "Security is a fundamental human right." Activists and concerned residents, as they move through major roads in Ikeja en route to the governor's office, calling for immediate and concrete measures to address the country's security crisis. Notable among them are Omoyele Shure and his colleagues in the Revolution Now movement. There is also deployment of security personnel on the ground, comprising the police, civil defense, and officials of the Department of State Services (DSS). Shortly after their arrival, the NLC president and some leaders of affiliates unions had a closed-door meeting, while the majority of the workers gathered in groups in and around the premises of the NLC secretariat before the march started. The protest adds to growing nationwide pressure on authorities amid rising public anger over recurring attacks by armed groups and the persistent inability of the government to halt the violence. The NLC president, Georgiero, had decried the negative effect of insecurity on Nigeria's economy, particularly how it is turning away investors, saying that insecurity is affecting even investors coming into this country. According to the NLC president, the protest is aimed at awakening the government to its responsibilities of tackling crushing economic hardship, insecurity, banditry, and other abnormalities in the country. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC has warned that workers and Nigerians are facing the worst survival crisis in the nation's history, driven by rising inflation, deepening insecurity, poor wages, and the collapse of social protection systems. It's contended that they were worse off when compared to other African countries, including war-ravaged nations such as Somalia and Sudan. NLC yesterday said the current hardship is more severe than what some Nigerians experienced during the Civil War or the era of austerity measures, stressing that financial insecurity has become the defining reality of working masses across the country. NLC President Jajero, who reviewed the current state of affairs, said the simple and natural progression of life is that a person must eat to survive. However, when work no longer provides adequate income to meet basic needs, survival becomes extremely difficult. When daily existence turns into a constant struggle, workers become deeply insecure, exposed to overwhelming existential demands that can only be addressed financially. He reiterated that at a time when lives have become increasingly insecure due to widespread violence across the country, including Boko Haram and Islamic State, West African Province, ISWAP, terrorism, banditry and kidnapping, it is important to draw attention to the parallel and worsening crisis of financial crisis and financial insecurity. This crisis is both a direct consequence of physical insecurity and an independent, mutually reinforcing factor. The United States has added Nigeria to a list of countries facing partial travel restrictions, citing security and documentation concerns. The White House announced the presidential proclamation on Tuesday, updating its list of countries facing full and partial travel restrictions. Nigeria was among 15 mostly African countries, including Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Dominica, Gabon and the Gambia, slamming with a partial travel suspension. Others listed are Malawi, Mauritania, Senegal, Tanzania, Tonga, Zambia and Zimbabwe. Radical Islamist terrorist groups such as Boko Haram and Islamic State operate freely in certain parts of Nigeria, which creates substantial screening and vetting difficulties, the White House said, justifying Nigeria's addition to the list. Turkmenistan, which was previously on the list, was removed owing to a demonstration of significant progress in improving its identity management and information sharing procedures. The Sahelian states of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger are among 5 countries newly placed under full restrictions and entry limitations. The White House cited operations of terrorist organizations in the countries as the reason for making the cut. The other 2 additions were South Sudan and Syria. Full travel restrictions on nationals from Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan and Yemen remain in effect. Laos and Sierra Leone, previously under partial restrictions, have now been placed under full restrictions. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) says it will probe Aliko Dangote's allegation against the managing director of the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority (NMDP), Ahmed Farouk. Dangote, the chairman of the Dangote Group, on Tuesday submitted a petition to the commission accusing Ahmed of corruption and financial impropriety. Hours after the industrialist move, the ICPC acknowledged the receipt of the petition and promised to investigate the matter. The agency spokesman, John Ode, gave the information in a statement on the Commission's social media platforms. In the petition submitted to ICPC, the Kano-born businessman, through his lawyer, Ogo Onoja, alleged that the NMDP boss spent without evidence of lawful means of income amounting to over $7 million for the education of his 4 children in schools in Switzerland for a period of 6 years upfront. He alleged that Ahmed used the NMDP to embezzle and divert public funds for selfish gains and the pursuit of private interest to the detriment of Nigerians. The House of Representatives has, however, summoned both parties, asking them to stop public comments over the matter. According to lawmakers, the feud may negate the strides recorded in the downstream sector. In the same vein, the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority (NMDP) Ahmed Farouk has described the corruption allegations leveled against him by the chairman of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, as wild and spurious. Ahmed, in a disclaimer issued and signed by him, noted that he would rather wait to defend himself in the presence of a formal investigative body rather than engage in public bribat with the entrepreneur. On Sunday, Africa's richest man accused Ahmed of economic sabotage, which he said was undermining domestic refining in Nigeria. The dispute between Dangote and Ahmed dates back to July 2024, when the NMDP CEO said local refineries, including Dangote Refinery, produced inferior products compared to those imported into the country. Dangote denied the allegations by testing diesel from his refinery during an oversight visit by the federal lawmakers to the refinery. More than 1 year later, the industrialist wrote to the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC), alleging corruption on the part of Ahmed. As Nigeria struggles to keep millions of citizens afloat and amid inflation, unemployment, and a shrinking informal economy, allegations of large-scale extortion, abuse of office, and financial impropriety has engulfed the Corporate Affairs Commission (CAC) at the country's business registration agency, as reported by Sahara Reporters. The allegations centered on claims that the Commission ordered fintech companies to collect inflated business registration fees from hundreds of thousands of small business owners across the country. Multiple sources within the CAC, the fintech ecosystem, and the small business community said that the Registrar General of the Commission, Hussaini Ishaq Magaji, allegedly compelled the major fintech companies, including Monopoint, Opay, and Palmpay, to enforce business name registration on small business owners at rates far above the official government-approved fee. At the center of the allegation is a scheme that allegedly saw over 300,000 micro and small business owners forced to pay 20,000 naira each for business names registration, despite the official CAC fee being 10,500 naira at the time. Sources said the 9,500 naira difference pre-registration was allegedly diverted to a private consultant handpicked by the Registrar General, raising concerns of large-scale extortion, abuse of office, and possible criminal conspiracy. According to multiple industry insiders, the CAC under Mortgage's leadership effectively turned fintech companies into gatekeepers of regulatory compliance, compelling them to ensure that POS operators and small merchants own their platforms registered with CAC or face suspension, deregistration, or shutdown. Most affected operations and operators said they were never told that CAC's official business name registration fee was 10,500 naira. Instead, they paid 20,000 naira, believing it was government money. You are currently listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into the news analysis segment. If you're just tuning in, this is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Joining me to help analyze our news item is Francis Chilaka. He's a current affairs analyst. Mr. Chilaka, thank you for joining us on the news at 12.
Good afternoon, how are you doing?
Very fine, thanks for joining us. Let's go to the first topic for discussion, which is obviously the NLC protest going on right now amid insecurity in Nigeria. What your reaction to that? I mean, finally, NLC, they're trying to fight for the workers and not just when they're being owed salaries.
Well, honestly speaking, I don't know what NLC is talking about. This is an insecurity has been something we've been battling with in the last 2 years plus. Especially since this government came to power and the thing has escalated. So I'm surprised that NLC is just looking up to the reality of what is happening to Nigerians. When you expect NLC to act, they don't ever act. And when you don't expect them to act, it builds up so much emotion in the system and then it figures out. You're planning a protest and you are holding a meeting with the president and some governors yesterday, to what end? The protest you're going to go about is not a protest that would stop insecurity immediately. I mean, it's not like it's going to stop insecurity immediately, but you're doing a protest. I don't know what you want to do, maybe to create awareness, but the awareness has always been there. So anything that NLC is doing, as far as I'm concerned, I am not a party to it. I don't support NLC. I don't see anything coming out of it, because at the end of the protest, will it end insecurity? Are they going to give a marching order to the federal government? So what is the whole essence of this protest? If not just to, maybe like people would say, they're looking for how government would do small Xmas for them. And I mean, that is it. Because this protest is useless.
In their defense, that's the reason why they're protesting is a majority of the people affected are Nigerian workers. Do you think that's so wrong to do?
They are protesting when people were killed in Yelawata, when people were killed in Plateau State. That was NLC. Where have they been all this while that people have been slaughtered on a daily basis?
Well, some would say it's better late than never.
No, not with NLC. NLC is moribund. NLC, nobody in Nigeria recognizes NLC anymore. Especially an NLC with Joe Ajay there as the president. It's like an NLC where you have a Senator Oshomole. No, I'm not talking about the NLC of before, but if you have an NLC with Senator Oshomole today, you don't expect anything good to come out of it. So everybody that has been in NLC, from what we've seen after the time of Senator Oshomole, they use it for political bargaining. And at the end of the day, it's about self-preservation, self-interest. So whatever Judge is doing right now it doesn't carry water, it doesn't carry weight. So it's just waste of time.
You think that's what this protest today is about, a bargaining chip?
That is what it is. That is what it is. Today in Nigeria, we are buying petrol at almost 900, 800 plus some places. But when Jonathan, if you remember, when Jonathan tried to increase the petrol from, I think, 70 or 80 naira, just to add 10 or 20 naira, Labour Congress was in the forefront. With our current president and some other labor unions, they were in the forefront. And they went to protest. Why are they not protesting now that petrol is 800 or something naira? Why are they keeping quiet? Nigerians are put in different bands in terms of electricity. Why are they not protesting? The roads in Nigeria are not motorable. Yet, the government is collecting roadworthiness certificate money. Why are they not protesting? There are a lot of issues that they should protest that would give an immediate answer and immediate solution. They're not doing it. So you're protesting against insecurity. What do you want government to do now?
Some may say the protest now is apt, considering what's going on between Dangote and NMDP, which is another topic we're going to talk about. But on the surface level, Dangote has ordered the petrol retail sellers. I mean, and the last time we checked, to reduce the price to 600 and something naira. But a lot of the filling stations aren't complying, and of course, if then anything, the transport fare has gone up instead of gone down. Isn't that a reason for them to protest now?
Okay, let us look at issues. This means say that Nigerian Labour Congress has the right to protest. I agree with that. In the last few weeks, we've been talking about airfare moving from 125,000 to about 500 to 600,000. What has the Nigerian Labour Congress done? What have they done? So the issue that they want to protest because of petrol, because of hunger, because of poverty. Look, NLC should go and rest. Nigerians are tired. Now, regarding Dangote and Alhaji Farouk, it's neither here nor there. Honestly speaking,
okay,
we know that this issue has been on. It didn't start today. Don't forget that 2 years back or so, when they accused the Dangote that his product is inferior. Yeah. And then we're saying, okay, if Dangote's product is inferior, NMDP and his affiliate give us a superior one. All the NMDP refineries are moribund, they're not working. People are still being paid salaries. And those who are being paid salaries also are part of the Nigerian Labour Congress. So why is it that up to now that all this has been happening, the Nigerian Labour Congress have not seen the need to go on protest? So why would they be going on protest today? If we're saying that things are going bad and labor is keeping quiet, and then they wake up few days to Christmas, and then they're telling the whole world we're going on protest, and you think Nigeria should support them, Nigerians will not. See, let me tell you, when it comes to Dangote and Farouk and NMDP and all of that, I think we will not shut ourselves in the leg. And how did we do that? We allowed an individual to own a refinery and be the one to control the market. Dangote will wake up today and tell you that he's reducing 20 naira from the sale of petrol. NMDP the next day will reduce 20 naira. If that's not the way it should be. NMDP should be in the forefront because it's a national carrier. It should be in the forefront to say we are reducing.
You mean the same NMDP that has been rocked with allegations of corruption here and there that have made Nigerians suffer for years? You want that NLC to start controlling Dangote?
Mr. President, okay, now that you're talking about corruption, since your president came to power, tell me how many MDAs has been built. Nigerians, when it came to power and they started probing CBN under Emefiele, we asked that they should also probe NMDP under Malachi. Did they do that? They never did that. Till date.
I mean, we're talking about the same thing. The federal government,
I'm coming.
The NMPC rather, is the same thing.
No, now that I'm told it, you appointed a new managing director and you close your eyes to it. As at that time, these things were going on, why did Labour not protest? We're talking about a civil society. We're talking about law and order in this country. Why did they not protest? A lot of things have gone on. This is a country where a former minister scammed 200 million Nigerians with non-available, non-visible, non-working airline. And everybody's keeping quiet. And this government has not seen the need to probe him. And Labour did not see the need to shut down the system. So as far as I'm concerned, this government is not fighting corruption, but rather this government, in one way or the other, is aiding and abetting corruption. So whatever is happening between NMPC and Dangote, it will still be swept under the carpet at the end of the day.
What do you think about the corruption allegation against the NMDPRA CEO Ahmed Farouk, though?
Well,
I mean, the news is all over the place. He has officially sent a petition to ICPC to probe Ahmed Farouk, which ICPC just told us they've received, and they will start making preparations to probe Ahmed Farouk. But what do you think about the allegation, first of all?
Well, if you're talking about the allegation, it's not only Farouk. There are too many people in Nigeria that actually should be probed.
Yeah, we know, right?
We have a Yaya Bello. Have you forgotten about Yaya Bello that paid school fees of little children who are not yet born, and what has come out of it? So for me, yes, I am in support of any probe that will unearth any form of corruption in this country, because when you fight corruption and you eliminate corruption, Nigeria will move forward. But I do not see this government, I say it with all sense of responsibility, because this government, rather than focusing on governance, is focusing on politics. And when you focus on politics, you would close your eyes to a lot of things that are going wrong. So I do not see this government in any way taking steps to probe anybody. At the end of the day, everything will just go as if nothing has happened.
But why do you think Dangote make that pronunciation there? Because I mean, it's out of character for him. I mean, he's been at the background when it comes to government, governance, and politics. We know he finances, a lot of politicians, and government agency, but he's been doing it at the background. He doesn't exactly make commentaries when it comes to politics and governance. And out of nowhere, he has singled out Ahmed Farouk. Why do you think he made that decision?
Well, you know that, like I said, Dangote and Farouk have come a long way, and we cannot play with that. Don't forget that when Dangote came out and said there was a cartel, that is worse than the cartel you have anywhere.
I mean, which we know that wasn't exactly a secret.
Good. That was where the fight started. So it's something that's been building up over time. But I think this is the best time to end it. And the best time to end it is that agencies that are responsible for probing corruption should take up the responsibility. If he's guilty, let him be charged as guilty. But I say, what I don't like about the Nigerian system is that we keep emphasizing on media trials. And at the end of the day, the media trials will fade out and everything will go into limbo. So for me, whatever it is, let the ICPC take over, or the EFCC, or whichever agency, but we want it to be a transparent trial. We want it not to be a media trial, because media trial has not helped government in curbing anything that has to do with corruption in this country.
But you would agree that media trial help, because once it's been echoed in the media, Nigerians will start running commentary about it, and most times it looks like that's what the governments listen to, other than making a transparent, probably like right now, after even after a huge personality like Dangote makes such pronunciation, it looks like the EFCC or ICPC or any other corruption agency were slow to reacting until lots of Nigerians started talking about it, and now ICPC have just made the pronouncement. Not that they've invited Farouk to answer questions, just that they are preparing to start investigating it, which is not exactly good enough. Don't you think so?
You know why I tell you that I don't believe in media trial? We had the higher bailiff. And we knew what the EFCC said, up to the point where the chairman of EFCC said, if I do not get to prosecute Yahya Bello, I will resign. He's still there. Yahya Bello is working free. That is on one end. On the other hand, you had the issue of Okowa, the former governor of Delta State. Media trial. What came out of it? Nothing. So yes,
I mean,
the media trial,
even the current Senate president allegations,
exactly.
of NDDC.
Good. So the whole thing, see, this is what media trial does. It just creates that initial vibe. It trends and it ends there. I'm not interested in media trial. I'm interested in a trial that would really, really punish culprits. That's the trial I'm interested in, not the trial that happens on the media space.
Well, Adam Soshomele said it, once you kiss the APC ring, you're free from any sort of probe. So it remains to be seen if Ahmed Farouk will go kiss the APC ring, and then the issue will be swept under the rug.
Well, it depends on how long the case will last, because if you have a case that has leaves an administration, what happens to it? But I believe that whatever it is, the issues of corruption should not take more than 3 months to 6 months to be adjudicated upon.
I mean,
but unfortunately,
for Dangote to make such allegations, it's obvious that he has some evidence to back it up. I mean, if there's overwhelming evidence, I mean, in a month's time, it should be done. It doesn't need to get 6 months.
But let us wait and see how the system and the institutions take up the matter.
Hopefully, because it's coming from a powerful person like Dangote, it will have an expeditious hearing.
Well, we hope so, but I do not see any light at the end of the tunnel. I do not see any. Let me tell you the truth. As long as this government is focusing on 2027 elections. Don't forget that there are certain people that the government believes that these people have what it takes to give them the vote, and the government will not go after them. But if you are talking about, if you start fighting corruption now, those who are behind the presidency, those who are advising the presidency, will also tell the presidency that this thing you're going to do is going to cost you your vote. I don't know if you know what I'm saying. But the truth of the matter is that for us to fight corruption, government needs to forget about politics and begin to focus on governance. That's the only way.
Okay, let's go to the next topic for discussion, where the United States has added Nigeria to a list of countries facing partial travel restrictions, citing security and documentation concerns. I mean, I'm not surprised about it, about this development. Are you?
Well, when first of all you were placed as a country of particular concern, and then the fact that we as Nigeria, as a country, we have to allow the American government to send in a delegation to investigate the issue of killings and all of that, then you know that more is coming. So I'm not surprised. I think we should expect more. But for me, I would say
it's even surprising that it is only a partial travel restrictions instead of full restrictions.
Well, even if it is partial, like you said, it's better now than never. But for me, what I would say is that if the American government wants to restrict, let them not restrict the ordinary Nigerians who have nothing. Let them restrict every government official. That is 1, 2. Let them get their allies to also do the same, because for us to curb this menace that we are faced with in this country, it looks like the Nigerian government is bereft of ideas, or they do not want to follow the due process of getting rid of this whole thing. So maybe these positions that the American government is taking will, in one way or the other, help us to curb insecurity in this country. So yes, I know that every right-thinking Nigeria is in support of the steps the American government is taking to ensure that Nigerians can live freely in their land, Nigerians can travel freely, Nigerians can actually not live in IDP camps. That is why I feel pain. Because how can you live in an IDP camp in your country when you're not at war? Now, the government is saying, oh, we are covering insecurity. I mean, wonderfully, I see that the Nigerian soldiers are doing quite a lot of things, but the main issue is that you are covering insecurity. What has happened to the millions of people who are living in IDP camps, who are taking over their ancestral homes? Why is government not doing anything to take them back to their ancestral homes? When the government does that, then we will know that, yes, the whole process of fighting insecurity, the government is ready to do it.
Now, if you take a look at the list on these travel restrictions, will partial or full. I mean, most of the countries here and in Africa. What does that tell you about the leadership of Africa, or is it just about that, or the fact that Trump is just being a racist, or is just
no. I think nobody should say that. Nobody should say that Donald Trump is being a racist. The truth of the matter is that African countries have continued to fail their people, and that is why I said ECOWAS has become a toothless bulldog. Nobody should listen to ECOWAS, because ECOWAS will support every wrong thing that the member states are doing. ECOWAS has never come out to condemn the fact that in some African countries, elections are held and elections are rigged, and there are 6 tight presidents and there are still members of ECOWAS.
And the
so it is the leadership in Africa.
50 years.
Exactly, it is the leadership. I mean, about 6 or 7 countries. When you calculate the number of years their leaders have stayed, you're talking about 264 years. Within a period of how many years? So the truth of the matter is that African leaders need to wake up. African leaders, they travel out of Nigeria, they visit countries abroad, they teach a lot of innovation abroad. Why are they not able to bring it back to Africa? The same African leaders will steal from the people and take it abroad without investing it in the African countries they've stolen from. So if what it will take for African leaders to develop Africa is to restrict them from leaving Africa, I would support that.
But unfortunately, it is the ordinary Africans that are suffering from these restrictions, not the leaders of these African countries. That's the problem.
Collateral damage.
Okay, Mr. Chilaka, thank you very much for your time. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
You're welcome, Solomon. Have a lovely day.
Yeah, you too. That was Francis Chilaka, a current affairs analyst. And for a quick look at what's happening outside Nigeria, a popular South African radio and club DJ has been shot dead in the country's largest city, Johannesburg, sending shockwaves across the nation grappling with entrenched crime. Warwick Stork, popularly known as DJ Wires, was gunned down in the city center on Tuesday afternoon. Police said that 40-year-old media personality was approached by 3 suspects, one of whom opened fire on him before fleeing on foot. The motive of the shooting is unknown and no arrests have been made so far, police said. Stork was a well-known radio and TV presenter and a podcaster in South Africa. Fred Kekana, local police chief, said Stork was attacked outside Zambesi House near Carlton Center. Stork spent several hours at the building overseeing the installation of security systems at the premises, which had been controversially occupied by unknown people, reports the state-run SABC. It is alleged that the victim was approached by 3 unknown suspects before parking his vehicle and then opened fire at him before fleeing the scene on foot. The South African Police Service, SAPC, said in a statement. CCTV footage showed a man with dreadlocks and dressed in what looked like a security uniform opened fire on Stork before fleeing, said Kekana. The DJ tried to run away after he was shot but fell down across the street, the police chief added. He said that Stork had an unused firearm on him and nothing was taken during the attack. Key evidence like cartridges were discovered at the scene, according to the police. Police have appealed to eyewitnesses and members of the public who may have seen the suspect to come forward. And finally, in our sports news, World Cup organizers unveiled a new cut price ticket category on Tuesday after a backlash by fans over pricing for the 2026 tournament in the United States, Canada and Mexico. Football's governing body, FIFA, said in a statement that it had created a limited number of support entry tier fixed at $60 for all 104 matches, including the final. It said the plan was designed to further support traveling fans following their national teams across the tournament. FIFA said that the $60, that's €51 tickets, would be reserved for fans of qualified teams and would make up 10% of each national federation's allotment. Fan group Football Supporters Europe FSE, which last week called prices extortionate and astronomical, responded by saying the FIFA was offering too little. Quote, while we welcome FIFA's seeming recognition of the damage its original plans were to cause, the revisions do not go far enough, FSE said in a statement on Tuesday. Last week, FSC said ticket prices were almost 5 times higher than in 2022 in Qatar, describing FIFA's pricing for 2026 as a monumental betrayal of the tradition of the World Cup. If a supporter were to follow their team from the first match to the final, it would cost them a minimum of $6,900, it said at the time, adding that World Cup organizers had promised tickets priced from $21 in a bid document released in 2018. On Tuesday, FSE said FIFA's partial ticketing U-turn exposed flaws in how prices for next year's tournament had been set. The organization also criticized the failure to make provisions for supporters with disabilities, or rather companions. Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer echoed FSC, stating that FIFA's cheaper ticket category did not go far enough. And before we go, here again are our top stories. NLC holds protest over rising insecurity in Nigeria. US adds Nigeria to list of countries facing partial travel restrictions. ICPC receives Dangote's petition against NMDP CEO Ahmed, promises probe. NMDP CEO Ahmed Farouk responds to Dangote's corruption allegation. Nigeria's Corporate Affairs Commission chief accused of forcing small businesses to pay inflated registration fees. Outside Nigeria, shock as South Africa, a popular South African DJ shot dead in Johannesburg. And in sport, FIFA announces $60 World Cup tickets after pricing slashes. And that's the world. This is at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I am Solomon Offem. Do follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at VOP903FM. Good afternoon and thank you for listening.